We are now officially in hurricane season. Forecasters looking at up to about 19 named storms in the Atlantic. How big does a storm need to be to earn a name? And how do they choose those names? Christian Morgan raises your weather IQ.
Well, as we get into hurricane season, you're going to see and hear likely many storms in the Atlantic, whether or not they come to North Carolina. But have you ever wondered why they're called names like Hazel or Floyd? No, they're not randomly named. There's actually a method to the madness, trust me. From ancient traditions to modern day meteorology, the process behind naming these powerful storms is surprisingly structured. Let's raise that weather IQ. Well, first let's start with a little bit of geography. These names represent all of the tropical basins. So we have English names, Spanish names, French names, and now back in the early days, there weren't actually names used. They used numbers instead. Can you imagine how confusing that would be? The National Hurricane Center decided to adopt using names in the early 50s, back in 1953. Now you may find this interesting. There's actually only 6 official lists of names. So yes, if you think back 6 years ago, we're using the same list that we did in 2019 with some adjustments. For instance, Dexter is the D name on the list this year. That name back in 2019 was actually Dorian, but that storm was retired, or that name was retired. We'll get to the why on that coming up. But in the same sense, this will be the same list of names that we use in 2031. Barring any kind of adjustments, of course. Now, the lists are created by the folks at the World Meteorological Organization, and they're put in order in alphabetical order. Now, they didn't always do this, but now the names alternate back and forth between male and female. In fact, it wasn't that long ago when they started splitting it up. Until 1979, they only used female names, and they were actually all just lists of bad girlfriends of the folks that worked in the weather organizations. So if you dumped a guy, you were probably on the list. Okay, back to the retirement process. Names only get retired if they're deadly enough or costly enough where using it again would be inappropriate. And of course, at the forefront of our memory, Hurricane Helene. Helene was retired after this past September's destruction in western North Carolina and has been replaced with the name Holly. See, there is a method to our madness. Like I said, there's a whole system behind the name and a history that stretches far beyond the storm itself. With your weather IQ, I'm meteorologist Christian Morgan.